one day, boys, we may get this, because in 2 months, we were getting offers all over the place. The song was charting. And they were like, number 5 was STP, 4, Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, King's X, and number 1, Collective Soul. And we were like, what exactly is going on?
Right. Okay, so let's go back to that original version of Shine. Was that your mix then?
Yeah. I engineered, mixed, played everything. The drums were that. You remember those, they called them cats?
Yeah.
I would just play that because I didn't like my drumming at the time, and I'd just sit there and drum beat it and put it down that way.
Great guitar tones on there. What would you have been playing, Ed?
It was, it was a Yamaha. I only had one amp and one guitar.
Was
a
that the
Rickenbacker.
Yamaha one that had the gain?
What's the guy's Soldano? Yeah.
The one that
112.
Yeah, so it's basically like a Soldano.
It was.
Yeah.
I think it even had his name on there, but it's Yamaha's. And effects thing. That's why in Shine, I was trying to get something cool, so I went and emptied the toilet paper dispenser and had that and would go, yeah. So that was my effects.
No way!
Yeah, that was my effects. I just came up with different things. I had to. It was just me in a basement. And,
Hello. Oh, yeah, I'm not by myself. Haven't been live in a while. So yes, it's been a week. So no, I'm hanging out with the kids. This one's been hanging out with me like over a week now.
He can't escape me.
It's ridiculous. But yes. Coming back to the world of the internet. So we got this stream today, first stream in a week since last podcast, and then we are going to stream Star Trek. We're going to stream Star Trek on Thursday. We're going to tier rank Borg episodes. You're letting the cat distract you.
Yes, I am.
No, it's just us right now. I know. But yeah, we are going to tier rank Borg episodes, getting ready to talk about Star Trek Picard, which we are slowly working through. Yes, there are things to say about Star Trek Picard, possibly my least favorite Star Trek series, but we're going to work through it. Maybe I'll watch it and be like, this is the best. It's the best fucking Star Trek series ever. Elam's just taking over. It's ridiculous.
It's
but
his show now.
But since I haven't been on too much, I thought we went ahead and watched the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte. It has nothing to do with Collective Soul. We'll get back to Collective Soul because we got a whole album ranking to do, and we have discussion. And I have things to say about Collective Soul. I'm going to give them some tough love because I think they're good. I definitely like them more than you do. I think they're very good, but we'll get to it. There is a big issue with them that is bugging the ever-loving shit out of me. But
we agree on this issue, so we will both.
Yes.
We will both. Yes.
But The Acolyte, Star Wars, The Acolyte, nothing to do with Collective Soul, but the first 2 episodes are out. What do you think, Ashlene?
I think it's interesting. I think it has. I'm interested to see where it goes, where it is taken.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm like 100% sold on it or 100% against it, but I'm interested.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at with it. I think it's overall, I think the first 2 episodes are good. Listen, so like I think the thing you could criticize is the fact that is, like they're doing spoiler, minor spoilers. It's only the first 2 episodes, so as spoilery as we can get in the first 2 episodes. It's a story about twins, identical twins. You have a good one and a bad one. Ooh. And that's kind of cliche, except I feel like it really has been done in a while, and it definitely hasn't been done in Star Wars. And I think the execution here is kind of interesting. I will say, like I knew Leslie Headland was like the showrunner, but I didn't realize she was like writing and directing a lot of it too, because she's very good at directing, and the writing works fairly well. It's intriguing. The atmosphere is great. The performances are fantastic.
Mhm.
Like, so if you guys don't know, there's a Jedi Master Saul, and he's played by literally the lead guy from Squid Games. Two completely different characters, but he morphs into them really well, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have even have considered that it was the same guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think part of that has to do with like the styling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's also just like his acting.
Yeah.
And also, I would like to bring up that I think it is incredibly impressive to be able to act convincingly in multiple languages.
Mhm.
Just in itself.
Mhm. Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. You want to know something else I just looked up? So, do you remember the apothecary guy that made May the poison for the One Jedi?
Yes, I do remember.
Do you
him.
recognize his voice? Because his voice kind of sounded familiar to me, but I wasn't quite clicking on who it was.
No.
Okay, do you want to know who that was?
I'm kind of scared, but kind of excited. Tell me.
It's Jason Mendoza from The Good Place.
Whoa!
Yeah, so it's like
The Good Place. I remember when I used to watch The Good Place all the time.
I mean, I mean, they're getting offended at this show not having any straight white guys in it. But Good Place is a fantastic show, and the only white guy in it is a fucking demon. I'm just saying. Minor spoilers for The Good Place, but yeah,
The Good Place is perfect in every
yeah,
way.
The Good Place is awesome. I was thinking about, I was like, yeah, there aren't really white guys in The Good Place. I mean, you got Ted Danson, but is he really a white guy in that?
Ted Danson is a demon wearing a skin suit of a white guy.
Yeah,
I mean, not in real life, but you know what I mean.
No, you're talking about in real life. But yeah, no, like we have like there's actors I recognize. Like the other one that I did recognize after I saw it was Daphne Keene, who played X-23 in Logan.
Yeah.
She's like the Padawan,
Yes.
and she's covered with makeup in this. But like you like if you look at the face, like, oh yeah, I can see her. That's her.
I know one of the ones that I pointed out to you earlier today actually was that the actress that plays Osha and May, like the evil
Yes.
twins, also played Rue from Hunger Games.
Yes, yes. And then, yeah, in case you're wondering, there's also she was apparently in The Hate You Give, and that has a Daily Show clip that's circulating that the chuds are pushing through. Like, number one, that clip is obviously a joke, but like all I can say about this is like, God, the chud narrative on this is so loud, but like there is a reason. Oh, and I think while we're on this, I think I'll go ahead and bring up the Rotten Tomatoes, because I actually think the Rotten Tomatoes reviews are very interesting on this. So like I think we all know the broad reviews of it. So it's getting really good reviews from critics. And let me go ahead and bring up this.
I was about to say they can't see it. Oh, whoa. See, I've never looked up to Rotten Tomatoes for this.
Well, this is one of those
That
clear
is
examples of review bombing.
intense.
Yeah. So, yeah, review bombing's obviously a thing. 27% for the audience and 90% for critics.
I assume that a lot of like the audience reviews are very like zero substance stuff.
Well, we're actually going to dive into that bit.
Okay.
So here, let me.
Let's read some bad reviews.
We're going to get into it. So okay. Excuse me. So, anyways, when you look up Rotten Tomato scores for a TV series, it gets wonky. So you can't just look up the reviews immediately, because what ends up going on is the individual episodes get ranked. So you have to look it up by individual episodes. I have to remember how to look that up. Here we go. Episodes. That should do it. All right. So here we go. Details. So the first episode. Now, in the first episode, we should be able to pull up the audience reviews here. Unless Rotten Tomatoes is changing it, because now I'm not seeing audience reviews for this episode. I did suspect maybe Rotten, because this is obvious fucking review bombing. When you see shit like this, it's like, okay, like these people probably haven't even seen the goddamn thing. Critics reviews. I wonder if Rotten Tomatoes is doing something with the audience reviews, because they are missing now. There. And I'm sure there'll be some sort of chud narrative about, oh my god, they're trying to
silencing
suppress
us.
people, and it's like, shut up. Okay, here we go. We got audience reviews over here though. We found some. There's little substance to the first 2 episodes, and what substance there is appears to be aimed at an audience that must exist primarily in the minds of the creators.
I
I
mean,
don't even know. I
it
don't.
might have been written by someone that watched it and just felt that there was nothing that appealed to
Yeah.
him, but you know, so it is. Sorry, I'm reading it.
Yeah. So many things don't make sense. Stop calling this nonsense show Star Wars total garbage. Like, I'd like to know what doesn't make sense. Can you give me examples? Because like I'd be interested to discuss it. Maybe you thought of something I missed, or maybe that's something I can explain. But just saying it doesn't make sense. I don't know. It made sense to me.
I do think it's interesting when you read like a lot of reviews on like new shows and stuff like that, shows that aren't fully released.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of them that just watch like one episode or something
Yeah.
like that, and they're like, this franchise is doomed.
Mm.
We are all going to die
Yeah.
imminently.
This show is so bad. The writing's like a 4-year-old wrote it. The action seems like Karate Kid, and the storyline is terrible. Not Star Wars at all. It is something else. Something so bad it shouldn't even have the word "star" in it.
My favorite show, Wars.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I actually think the action scenes in this have been pretty solid so far. I actually really like the assassination of the Jedi in the first episade. Yeah, opens with that. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Hey, Nicholas, how you doing?
Hi, Nicholas.
Oh wait, takes me a second to move the cursor from one screen to the other.
This show,
You know, this actually sounds like a review, though. You know, okay. That's something.
This show made me cancel Disney Plus. It started well with The Mandalorian, but everything has been going downhill since, and I just can't seem to get interested in the Disney version of Star Wars. Ever since the sequel trilogy mess, the writing has been so incredible bad, it actually destroyed every Lucasfilm project under Disney.
Holy
I'm done
shit.
with Disney Wars. Oh,
Don't-
Sebastian Rosenberg L.
Yeah.
You are my hero.
The L is well
The
placed, my
L.
friend. Don't watch. It's terrible. They need to fire half the Star Wars franchise. Doesn't even connect anywhere. Don't know a single person at all.
I don't think you can fire movies.
Well, okay, so don't know a single person at all. Real quick. It's set 100 years before anything else live action has been done. And I actually welcome the fact that it's set in a time period we haven't really explored it before. So that's cool. And it also means that like it gives the writers more of a sandbox of what they can do. Essentially, we have a world filled with Jedi, and they can kind of do what they want with that.
You know, it's a lot more stuff that you can do in comparison to just being like, oh my god, have you seen Darth Vader? You know.
Mhm. This will not be considered canon by real Star Wars fans.
I don't think that Star Wars fans get to decide what's canon in Star Wars.
Well, you know what? I've kind of gotten sick of the whole canon discussion. Listen, if you don't want to consider it canon, don't. I don't care. You don't have to. You can read the expanded universe all you want and consider that canon. I think it was one of the Doctor Who actors who are they're like, are the audiobooks canon? And they're just like, if you want, just take what you want, leave what you want. It doesn't matter. Like this whole argument of canon doesn't matter in the end. No one cares. Like, if you don't want to consider it canon, don't. Then like leave it alone. Like, if you don't want to watch, like that's the thing. Like these guys are like rage clicking on this. Like we have to give it a bad review, guys. If you don't like this,
Watch
you can
something
ignore it.
What? It's like, why don't you just watch things that you actually like?
Yeah.
I assume you are like a fan of like some sort of Star Wars in some way. Just watch what you enjoy.
Very bad, way too digital and too much green screen, very low budget, bad acting, huge Star Wars fan, but this one's bad. Okay, number one, I actually didn't think that was a big deal. Like I didn't think it felt like more practical effects than we typically get in Star Wars. And number two, my man, have you seen the prequels? The prequels? You want to complain about digital and green screen? And I'm going to assume you would defend the prequels. The prequels look awful. Like I'm just saying.
The prequels are interesting because they're like video game graphics, but old video game graphics, you know?
Yeah, but and a lot of these I really don't even know. This one, was excited about Carrie Ann Moss, and she did deliver for the few minutes she was on screen, but got killed so quickly. It's like Disney is trying to kill what we love about Star Wars.
You know what I love about Star Wars? Carrie Ann
Trinity?
Moss.
Yeah, Trinity. I actually thought was kind of ballsy, and I kind of respect the fact they got a big name actor to die like in the first 5 minutes. That's kind of cool.
I do think it is kind of what it's like. I feel like I feel like this isn't a statement about the show at all.
Yeah.
This is, I saw an actor that I liked in a TV show and they weren't given as much screen time as I would like.
Yeah.
Which, like, listen, if you're only watching it for Carrie Ann Moss, and,
I can
like,
see how that would
whatever, like, just leave. It's fine. You've come here, you've gotten what you asked for.
Yeah.
But, like, how is it killing what you love about Star Wars?
Yeah.
Like, these things aren't correlated. I don't know how to say that word.
But here's the deal. Is The Acolyte like some sort of perfect series? No, but is it really? I think it's pretty good so far. I'd say it's really good so far. And I would say the acting has been really good in it. In particular, I think like I said, I don't even know if Leslie Headland's done a whole lot of directing or writing, but like she's doing a good job with this. So yeah. Acolyte's totally decent. I recommend it. You have any extra thoughts, Ashlene?
I mean, I think it's interesting.
Mhm.
I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly enthusiastic about it one way or another, but I'm prepared, to go for the ride. Saw an interview where like the implication is that all stage play actors are bad.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was like bad, very bad, weak acting. Like you're watching a stage play, and I was like, what? Why the random slander on stage play actors? Stage play actors were here before movie actors were. They are the OGs.
Well, yeah, and it's a different type of acting too. But
it's like if anything, stage acting should be fairly strong because you've got to deliver to all of the people in the back.
Well, as a stage actor, you have to overact, but you have to sell your overacting. So
in a way, it's actually kind of difficult.
Yeah, you have to be subtle while be overacting sometimes.
You can't do really little nuances, but you got to do little nuances.
Yeah. So yeah. Like I said, I'm interested to see where the Acolyte goes. Overall, I think it's pretty damn good. But yeah, watch it and judge for yourself. Don't listen to some loudmouth YouTuber who tells you it sucks because there aren't enough white guys, or there's fire in space, or that a knife kills a person. These are not critiques. I mean, the closest one I would say is maybe the fire in space, except it's something that Star Wars has done in like all of them. So
I think another thing, just in general, if you see something and you think to yourself, this is interesting, I kind of want to see it.
Yeah.
You should just see it, I think. Because the thing about like the ratings and stuff like that and the percentages on Rotten Tomato is that I think they're like an indicator of how likely you are to like something, because you know, if most people like something, most people would most likely include you. But there's always the outlier, and you could be the outlier, so I think it's just good to check out stuff that looks interesting to you.
Well, I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, like Rotten Tomatoes, I think is interesting to look at to get kind of like the idea. Like when you look at like this, like you can see like this is the idea of review bombing right here, obviously. But like when you look at that 90%, that literally could be 10% of people who thought it was the worst thing ever, and 90% of people who are just like, eh, good enough.
Yeah.
And that could tell you, maybe it's not great. But yeah, that's kind of Rotten Tomatoes. Like it gives you a broad overview, but like it doesn't really mean anything, especially for your own like opinions. Like,
Generally,
yeah,
the only thing that I use Rotten Tomatoes for is it'll be like after I've watched a movie, I'll
yeah,
go into Rotten Tomatoes and I'll see where the reviews are so that I can think, ha, these peasants didn't understand the movie.
yeah. There will be times where you go where like it's like Rotten Tomatoes. You look it up and you're like, oh, I disagree or I agree. It varies. It's always good to make your own decision because it is what it is. But anyways,
One time I looked on the Rotten Tomato page for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and a guy went on there and it was in the critics section as well, and they were like, flimsy, no substance, jokey film. And I was like, what?
yes,
Me-
Everything Everywhere All at Once is kind
me-
of silly.
Me when I have failed to
Yeah.
interact with any of the themes of a movie.
True. I guess, are we ready for Collective Soul?
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
talk about Collective Soul.
All right. Well, I mean, a lot of it's going to get segued into my album ranking. So, do you want to just dive straight into the album
Let's
ranking?
just do the album.
Well, you know what? Let me go ahead and tell you my personal history because you don't have shit for personal history of Collective Soul.
My personal history of Collective Soul is that I've heard some songs in the car
Yes.
that I enjoyed, and you were like, "Hey, you want to go listen to the band at concert that did those songs in the car that you enjoy?" And I was like, "Yeah, sounds good,
Yeah. Well,
respectable."
so I didn't get into music till later in life, and when I say later, I mean I was like 16, which is older than most people when they get into music. But I was still a kid. It was still a while ago now. And then like early, like, obviously I was into Genesis very early on. And then I was into a lot of the some, well, maybe not a lot, but like the music that was bigger at that time. So it's 1997. Alanis Morissette's huge. I enjoyed Jagged Little Pill. I still enjoy that one to this day. And then what else? Seal 2. That was pretty solid. But yeah, as far as like I know Genesis is calling all station around that time, and then we got Phil Collins Dance to the Light. Both albums I have are not their best, let's just say that, but they're fine. But I'm just getting into tapes, and then I get a CD player. And my very first CD I ever got for that CD player was Wallflowers Bring Down the Horse. And now I liked at the time. I've listened to it since then. I really don't. Wallflowers has not stuck around with me at all. But I want to say one of the early CDs I got was Discipline Breakdown because I was liking a lot of the Collective Soul singles that were coming out. At that time, it would have been Precious Declaration, it would have been Listen. I think those were the two big singles. I think there might have been more singles off that, but I really liked that album. And I liked it enough that I went back and I got their first self-titled album. And that one had like I didn't recognize the song names, but then I was listening to it, I was like, World I Know. Oh shit, I know this one. Oh, December. Oh shit, I know this one. And then I went back a little bit further and I got Hints, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid. I didn't like that one as much as the other two, but it was fine. And then of course Shine is the first song. I was like, oh, I know that one. So like this is a band that I've been a fan of for a while. Now that being said, to update you on my history with it, so obviously I've listened to the first three, and then for some reason I didn't pick up Dosage until later. It had heavy, it had lots of songs on it I kind of dug, but I never picked it up. And then Blunder came out, and Y Part 2 came out, and I really enjoyed that one. So I went back and I got Dosage and I got Blunder. I had those in my collection. And we'll get to my thoughts on Dosage. I like Dosage, but we'll get to my thoughts. And Blender, I think, is pretty good. But those are the only Collective Soul albums I've listened to until the past couple of months.
We've been
those
speed
five.
running listening to
Yes.
Collective Soul.
Yeah. So now I've listened to them all. I've ranked them all. And yeah, definitely things to say. I guess we want
I'm-
segue things
I'm-
to say.
I'm gonna do some background as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
you got so
Okay.
much time.
Well, I mean, I have a history, but yes, go
Okay.
ahead. Mhm.
So I don't have a whole lot of history with this particular band besides from what I said earlier. Sometimes we play songs in the car that I
Yes.
enjoy.
Mhm.
However, I do have a history with music. You see.
Mhm. Where are you going with this? Music theory. Music.
I haven't yet taken a music theory class. I think I'm probably going to be doing a lot of music theory though next year. But I've been performing music on stage for about God, let me think. For 7 years.
Mm.
And so I've sang, I've won an award for singing.
Yeah, you did.
I
You
did.
fucking nailed it too. Yeah.
I play the cello. I was first chair for like many, many years. By that I mean a couple of years, but it still counts.
Mhm.
And I was part of like a show choir for a while. I have experience with music.
Now you might well be careful going into this history because I have video of you singing.
It's a good video of me singing.
Yes,
isn't
it is. It's very good. Mm.
Yeah, that's basically all that I have to say. I have, I guess, what I would consider to be more of an inside view.
Mhm.
Although I've never gotten too deep into writing. I did attempt to write a song though earlier, and I just kind of got
Mhm.
distracted. I will probably be a lot more knowledgeable, as said earlier, when I do a lot of music theory stuff
Okay.
next year. But I think I have a level of insight.
Yeah.
A level of it.
Well, I mean, I'm just somebody who listens to music and goes, oh, I like this music, fun. So that's not it. Where is? Oh, there it is. Okay. Right, don't look. It's my sacred ranking. Sacred ranking. So do you want to go over? So they have 12 albums. We'll rank them one by one. Well, what we'll do is what I typically do is somebody starts and the next person follows up with two, and then we go two, 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 two. So that way we're taking turns with the lead. Does that make sense?
Okay. I see.
Do you want to start out with your number 12 or shall I start with my number 12?
It doesn't really matter to me.
Mhm. Well, I mean, well, we don't have to make it too picky. I will go to my number 12. So
Okay.
my number 12 is not going to be the one that pops up here. This is hints, allegations. We got a little bit till we get to this one.
Oh, okay.
And let me fix this one up a bit. So my number 12 is their 7th album, Afterwards. I have more to say about Youth, but Afterwards has possibly my least favorite Collective Soul song on here. It's Bearing Witness, and the reason this song stands out to me is because my MP3 is mislabeled because I pulled it off the internet. It says Breaking Witness, and I always thought, oh, that's a weird title, Breaking Witness. What does that mean?
Breaking the witness.
Yes. But then like the song plays this, I was like, oh, I bet it's supposed to be Bearing Witness, and then you look up, yeah, it's Bearing Witness. But the song is slow and kind of boring. And here's the deal: like Collective Soul actually have a lot of slow. Like I'm not somebody who's typically a fan of slow songs, but Collective Soul actually has a lot of slow songs. I actually kind of like, especially on Discipline Breakdown. There's this song Blame, really fucking like. It's really cool. But yeah, that one doesn't work for me. Overall, this album is, and FYI, I'm gonna say this a lot about a lot of their albums because it's my issue with them. It's very derivative of past albums. And this is probably one of those albums where I really feel it the most. Let me see, because I'm sure I have highlight songs. I will say, like Collective Soul, one of their things, and plus or minus, because all bands will do this, but like every single one of their first tracks is just like a super punchy song. And most bands will do that, but like usually bands like to do a highlight like song that you think is really strong to open you up. And always with Collective Soul, it's not necessarily that, but it's always like the punchy guitar one usually. And this one's New Vibration. And I like them usually, but like it's the same thing over and over again. and I think I have a couple of songs on here. I think "Persuasion of You" was definitely the one I thought was the best song on here. But I think a lot of this, more than anything else, yeah. See, "Breaking Witness."
Breaking the witnesses. I committed a crime, and I'm gonna break that guy that saw me.
But
do
yeah,
it.
a lot of this feels kind of been there, done that with the band, and it suffers the worst from it. It just, eh. I will say this isn't my least favorite album cover, at least. It's kind of a silly album cover, so that's something. But yeah, it doesn't thrill me. Where are you at with your number 12?
My number 12 is hints, allegations, and things left unsaid.
Oh, you're going for the first one.
Yes, I am.
Burn.
And it's not a burn. I'd consider this actually to be a compliment. You kind of want your first album to be your worst one, I think.
Hmm?
Because then that means that all the ones after that were better.
True. I will say, I mean, my least favorite Genesis album is their first one. Well, I know Ed Roland always said that he doesn't consider this their first album. He considers their first self-taught one their first album, and I never really understood why. Because there's actually some tracks on here I think are fairly solid. So I never understood why he was so quick to discount this. And then I saw in an interview he was talking about and the reason he doesn't consider this his first album is because this was a lot of just him just recording demos and shit, and they just threw it together in an album. He considers their first album the one where they were a fully formed, cohesive band, which was their first self-titled one. He considers that their first album because that's for them as a band. I was like, oh,
I understand that.
I
That
get
makes
that.
sense.
Okay, yeah, that he's not just discounting us. He's just like, this wasn't meant to be an album. It's just fucking songs I was slapping together.
Yeah. So the thing about this album, and the thing about a lot of Collective Soul albums, is that I feel like there's not a lot of technical intrigue. I feel like,
Yeah.
there's not generally when I'm listening to Collective Soul, which I listen to a lot of Collective Soul recently.
Yeah. It's almost like we're doing an album ranking.
One thing that I noticed about a lot of Collective Soul songs is that a lot of them would follow like a very similar formula and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But they didn't add I understand that different bands have their sounds.
Yeah.
I have no issue with that. Everybody's got their own thing going on. But my main problem with Collective Soul is that I felt like they didn't do a whole lot of experimental stuff. And
Yeah.
they didn't do a lot of things that add technical intrigue where I could be like, oh my god, did you hear that guitar?
Mhm.
That was so cool, you guys.
Well, I mean, I kind of hinted at, and you're kind of diving into it because that is one of my issues. So, I listened to the first 5, and I was familiar with the first 5, and I more or less like the first 5 albums. And the problem is when you go deeper into it, there's pluses and minuses. I definitely feel in the later years there's better albums and worse albums, but a lot of it feels the fucking same. A lot of it feels like they're trying to recapture the magic of the first 5 albums. And I kind of get it because especially like between 2 and 5, they had a lot of really big hit singles. And I get that. But I do feel like they got some talented musicians behind them. And clever people. And it's like I wish they'd push themselves more.
Yeah.
I genuinely do because I think they
so-
could.
On this album, when I first listened to it, at the beginning of
Mhm.
my Collective Soul
Yeah.
album, because I listened to them in order, as I
Yeah.
imagine you probably did as well.
Mhm.
And so when I listened to this, I was like, wow. I mean, I'm not a big fan of most of the songs on here. They're not particularly interesting to me,
Mhm.
as a general rule. But I thought to myself, this is a good starting spot for a band,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
I don't really have a whole lot of problems with this album.
Yeah.
There is one song though that I particularly dislike.
Ooh, which one's that?
Pretty Donna. It
Oh.
just felt like as someone that played a strings instrument, it just felt
Okay.
very
It is very
derivative.
simple. Yeah.
It's very and it felt like it just wasn't using the strings to
Mm-hmm.
their proper, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
There's a certain way, it felt like I was listening to, I could tell that the people that made the song didn't play orchestral string instruments, or at least I'm assuming that they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The song convinced me that they didn't.
Oh dear. Burn.
But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on hints, allegations, and things left unsaid.
Okay.
It's really it's a compliment that I'm putting it at the bottom. I feel like,
Okay.
and it's just sort of it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yes. Well, what is your number 11 then?
My number 11 is okay. So I'm gonna have to preface this by saying something.
Ooh.
Okay. So I think in part some of my rankings might have been partially okay, so I think a lot of the albums sound really, really similar to
They
each other
do.
to
They
the
do.
extent that when I was trying to put together a list, I was just sort of like, let's just put the ones that I don't like on the bottom and the ones that I remember liking on the top. And a lot of them I didn't remember having like super concise opinions about them
Mhm.
because they all sounded very similar.
Yeah.
And so to an extent, it's just kind of like the couple at the top and like the a couple at the bottom, and like also like the ranking is also influenced by like what songs they were followed or put
Mhm.
after by. And so it's not necessarily that I like super duper hate any of the albums on here. It's just that I
Yeah.
wasn't particularly impressed by them.
I don't know if I would
And
say I dislike really any of the albums on here as much as I think a lot of them are derivative. Like literally, like there's albums on here where it's like I don't know why I would ever listen to that album because they released the better album, like a better version of that album at a different point in their career. um. Anyways, what your number 11?
okay, my number 11 is Blender. And I think part of the reason that my number 11 is Blender is because as I was going through like the albums in
Mhm.
like the order they were going into, I had I had thought to myself, we're getting somewhere, we're going somewhere new and unique this next album. I have a feeling it's going to, introduce some new stuff, and it just kind of didn't.
Hmm?
And it disappointed me.
See-
and I had a distinct feeling of disappointment associated with this album, which is why it's so far down in comparison to a lot of other stuff.
So I will say we're a while away from my Blender ranking because I feel like a Blender was a kind of step away from what they were doing and
Yeah.
a slight step.
Like,
It
I
wasn't
don't-
massive, but
I
yeah.
don't necessarily think it's like a bad album.
Hmm.
It's just not, like I felt like they were going somewhere, and I was excited for where they were going. And then I listened to that album and I'm like, okay, cool. So we're not going anywhere. Okay, guys.
But all right. So anything else to add on Blender, or should I go
Not
to my 11?
particularly. It's more about the feeling of disappointment.
Well, my number 11 is Youth. So Youth is an interesting one because I was reading up on it. So apparently, between Blender was their 5th album and Youth was their 6th. But in between that, both Ed and Dean Roland, the lead guitarist and lead singer of Collective Soul, they both went through a divorce, and they wrote a whole bunch of songs about that. And they decided to chuck them all, and because they just like we didn't want to be angry, we want to do a happy album, so they did a happy album, and I have mixed feelings about that. Like I almost feel like, I'm not entirely against doing the happy album. And I also understand if like you do a lot of like really negative songs, if it gets really personal, not like taking that personal element out of it and just having the raw emotion on there. Because I think raw emotion can be a great asset for music in particular, especially a divorce. Holy shit, that shit gets emotional, I know. So like part of me is like really interested what the divorce stuff was. I mean, Phil Collins made his solo career on his fucking divorce. um he opened with 2 divorce albums. So I understand maybe like wanting to edit the lyrics so it's not too personal, but like bearing your soul during a divorce, it can also feel kind of refreshing. So and maybe there's an argument to be made that maybe a good way to handle it would maybe do a double album. Have one side literally just be here's the anger of the divorce, and the next one be like the next stage. Because I imagine that's what happened. They got angry and then they started recovering, and then they were like, we don't want this out there. But like I think music can be therapeutic, and I think there's something to be said. I don't know. I'm interested to see what their divorce songs are.
I'm an enjoyer of when music tries to take you on like a specific emotional
Yeah,
journey,
yeah,
or even if it's just like a couple of songs where it's like, oh, these are about like the different stages of grief, and like this one is like you found out about it and you can't believe it and you're just filled with all these terrible emotions. The next one is like you're very sad, but like you're sort of you know, it's the middle stage. And then the last one is like you're not sad about it anymore per se.
Yeah.
But you know that you have to keep on going on, and you know that this person wouldn't want you to be down in the dumps about them.
As far as highlight songs, I have Better Now, obviously. I mean, they played that live. It was the only track off this they played. I honestly, like, I feel like this and Afterwards are kind of very similar albums to me, except I feel like the songs are a bit stronger on here, but like thematically, tone wise, construction wise, very similar album. Part of the problem with Collective Soul, just God damn it. I feel like they're talented musicians. I just want them to push themselves more. I really do. But anyways, that's my number 11. Number 10 for me is a bit newer. Too far. Okay, so Vibrating. This is their first post-pandemic album. To my understanding, Blood and Vibrating were actually supposed to be a double album by them, but they
were.
got delayed.
They
Yeah,
were.
and they just got separated off. I'll get to Blood quite a bit later because I actually thought Blood was surprisingly good for being a later album. But yeah, this one I will say. This is their next to last album, and then their last album was From Here to Eternity, which they just released like a couple weeks ago. What I will say is I feel like maybe sonically they're moving a bit away from like what they've been doing and maybe going almost more like a Beatles style, which I think is fine.
I mean, to be honest with you, just on the topic of Beatles,
Yeah.
they actually did kind of remind me of the Beatles when I was listening to their early stuff. That was a
Yeah.
comparison that went into my mind.
Mhm.
Not like on the same level as the Beatles necessarily,
no,
but there's this whole thing, and maybe I'm more like I think about this more in terms of music because I play an orchestral stringed instrument, but a lot of but that's sort of traced back to the Beatles as being like some of like the first people to like put that in their music, or at least that was what I was taught in school. I was
Mhm.
taught in school that they were the first people to put that into rock music.
I'd be
It could be wrong.
I'd be copyright so hard, but like the drum cover of Eleanor Rigby is
Oh my
classic.
goodness! Look up the drum cover of Eleanor Rigby. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And anyway, and actually, when I was listening to the first album, and they did like Pretty Donna, I was like, oh, they're trying to do it like the Beatles.
Mhm.
And there are other things that kind of remind me of the
And-
Beatles a little bit. Although
I
I
mean,
do
the
like
Beatles are
Beatles
massively
more.
influential.
I
Yeah.
do like the Beatles more.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, I'm not. Dude, I'm a big fan of Collective Soul. I am not going to say they're better than the Beatles. Come on.
If anything, like I would listen to some of their stuff and I'm like, I can feel like the Beatles influence in this a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. So
And I didn't specifically think of that with Vibrating, but I believe
I felt that
you.
with Vibrating and especially with Here to Eternity. I mean, Beatles have influenced everything to a degree, but I definitely feel like they're channeling it a bit more. And I thought it was interesting. So like the same interview I was telling you about where he was talking about why he considers the Blue self-titled album their first real album. The other thing he brought up was I think he said his favorite artist, and it kind of surprised me. He said his favorite artist is Elton John.
Interesting.
And I could kind of get like maybe like I could see Collective Soul mixing with Elton John coming out of kind of a Beatles vibe at the end. I could see that happening. And that might be kind of what he's channeling, which I'm all for.
Give me the
I'm all
Collective
for.
Soul and Elton John collab.
They did that on Blender.
Oh right, crap, they did. I forgot.
Yeah, that was literally on Blender. I'm sure Ed Roll
down.
was fucking thrilled about that.
And I ranked the album so far down.
And they also on that I'm pretty sure that's the tour where they opened for Elton John. So
Woo.
yeah, I'm sure he was excited about that one. But yeah, so while this album is very low ranked for me, I feel like maybe they're stepping into their own a bit more after 30 years of doing this. Please. And I'm not saying they haven't before, because I feel like their early stuff was kind of very much their own. But I feel like they've been chasing the early stuff so much, and it's like, just explore sonically. Like, what do like Tool does. Fear Inoculum is a solid album. It's not Tool's best album, but it's a solid album. I feel like all that album is them coming out with a cool sound and exploring it sonically for 10 minutes. Just every single song is like that. And I'm fucking down for it. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying Collective Soul has to do a whole album like that. Just do one. Do one song where it's like, here's a cool tone. We're going to explore it sonically for like 10 or 20 minutes.
You see, one of my opinions about music
Mhm.
is that I feel like in order to be doing like really expanding and like stretching your knowledge and doing like,
Mhm.
doing the music in a way that I feel is like,
Mhm.
interesting, you kind of have to be a bit weird.
Yes. Yeah.
Like in some way. And your weirdness is not going to jive with everybody. That's the way of the world.
Mm.
But you got to be a bit weird or
Mhm.
you're going to be a lot of bland.
Yeah. Well, and I will also say something that I completely forgot. I had a point. Yes. Yeah, so vibrating. Like I said, like even though it's so low ranked on the list, I feel like maybe they're doing something a bit different. Obviously, I got cut the cord because, of course, they open up with a kind of a guitar banger at the beginning because they always do that. But yeah, while there's a lot of songs on here I thought were a little bit less noteworthy. Like it was what I just appreciate that it's doing something a bit different, which their past 10 albums didn't do. So that's why Vibrating's on here at number 10 for me.
Okay.
And that brings us to your number 10.
Okay, my number 10 is Afterwards.
Ooh, we're getting a little crossover here.
Yeah.
Yeah, afterwards it's cleared out, guys. And
Yeah.
we're
So a thing that I did when I was listening to these albums is in an attempt to just fully absorb in the entire essence of the album, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to song titles, which is why a lot of my stuff is going to be very general overall stuff, is because most of the time when I was listening to it, I tried to sort of absorb the album as an entire thing because I thought that would make it easier when I was ranking them, because I could be like, this album was like this and this album was
you
like
see,
that. But that means
I
I
don't.
don't have a lot of specific stuff to talk about.
Well, I would also say, like, I would say for a lot of bands that would work kind of well. Like
then
with
the pro-
Genesis, that would work well. But
But
like
then
these guys,
I discovered when I was listening to Collective Soul that a lot of them just sort of blended in together for me. And so a lot of my list is just sort of like, these are the ones that I particularly disliked at the bottom. And these are the ones that I liked more at the top.
Mhm.
And everything in the middle is just stuff that I couldn't remember a lot about.
yeah.
And so I feel like with Afterwards, it's like I remembered like not being very into it, which is why it's so far down.
Mhm.
But like I don't actually have a whole lot of specific things to say because you see, turns out I found like the worst way to listen to a Collective Soul album on accident.
Oh, really? What do you do?
What I just told you I did. I
Oh.
didn't pay attention to the specific
Oh,
songs in
yeah.
an effort to just get the essence of the album. And then I found that a lot of the essences
You know-
of the albums were similar.
And that's something else they could do. They could do a concept album. You don't have to do a 10-minute song. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is a hour 45-minute album, concept album. Like there's very few songs on it that are over 5 minutes. There's a few for sure, but there's no 10-minute songs on there for sure. You don't have to do long songs. Just experiment. And again, I'm giving you this advice as someone who wants these guys to explore themselves musically. They also have to make a living. I understand that. And the new album opened at number 15, so it's like I don't know what I just want you guys to uh uh experiment musically.
I think a couple of
But yeah.
things that are good to do.
Yeah.
A, what you said, concept album. B, long song.
Yeah.
Get silly with it.
Yeah.
Free. Do maybe like a double album. Do albums connected to each other. Do like a 2-disc or something like that. Like different sides.
Yeah.
Find an old song that you did and then like remake it but with new intent and see
Yeah.
what comes out. Just like do stuff.
That is what Ministry is doing right now, actually. They're revisiting with Sympathy with their synth pop album and doing it with a bit more modern influence, which is like, hey, cool. Fun times. But yeah, there's lots of things they can do. Like you talk about how a lot of the Hints and Allegations songs were demos. And I think I'll get more into
Actually,
it. But
you
yeah.
were talking about that.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, anything else to add about Afterwards?
No.
I'll get to Hints Allegations later.
Not particularly. I'm doing this based off of vibes.
Okay, so that brings us to your number 9, right?
Okay, yeah. Number 9. It's Rabbit.
Okay.
Yeah. It's, as I said, we're sort of getting into the area where it's just sort of songs where it's like albums where it's like I had trouble differentiating them from other albums when I was going through the thing. It's not necessarily that I think that this album is bad.
Mhm.
It's just that I picked the worst possible way to listen to Collective Soul, and this is what happens.
I will say, real quick update. So Rabbit is kind of the subtitle. This is actually their second self-titled album.
But that's silly.
It does get well. I mean,
I'm a bit of a
you know what? There's nothing wrong with being a bit silly. There's nothing wrong. In fact, I want them to be a bit sillier in their music. I
yeah,
want,
that's the thing. This form of silliness I think is just confusing.
yeah.
Could you channel your silliness into your songwriting? I want silly songs.
And I don't know why it's called Rabbit. As the subtitle.
I know it's
Do you
because
know why?
I was looking at the Wikipedia pages for all the songs as I was listening to them, and it says that apparently they called it Rabbit initially when they were like promoting it to differentiate it from the first self-titled album.
Yeah.
And also it's got the photo of the rabbit.
I was about ready to say that I assumed it's the Rabbit album cover. Yeah, no, we'll get. I think I'm pretty close to getting to Rabbit as well, which I think it's good, but yeah. And what is my number? Yeah, you know what? Yeah. So
I will tell you, minor spoiler, I definitely prefer the first self-titled album.
Oh God,
minor
yeah.
spoiler.
Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and make this simpler because my number 9 is Rabbit.
You gotta switch around a little bit. They
Yeah,
never know what
to make you think, oh, maybe it's something else. No, it's Rabbit. So like we're both at number 9 with Rabbit. Yeah. So this is, I feel like this is an improvement of like this is their follow up to Afterwards. I definitely feel like this is an improvement to Afterwards because Afterwards just it's like I said, it's got some good songs on it, but it doesn't. If it that is the album that really you like the redundancy that Collective Soul has a tendency to do, you really feel it in that album, and to a degree in Youth as well. And this one, I feel like that, like I get why it's almost like their second self-title because it's almost like okay, let's kind of reset ourselves after those two albums, and they kind of do. Like I think overall, this album works. It's enjoyable. It's not remotely peak Collective Soul, but it's got some good ones. Yeah, Welcome Well Again, Fuzzy, Dig. These are very solid songs. Understanding, as I recall, is really good. Like overall, like I thought this was a really solid album. And I'm not gonna lie, my first listen through, when I'm listening through them chronologically, this was a breath of fresh air Afterwards, because Afterwards it's like, oh God, this is please don't go this way. And this one was like, oh God, okay, this is better. Thank you. um, I was not a fan of Afterwards. I wasn't.
I mean, I also have it higher than Afterwards.
Yeah.
It's not by as much.
But yeah, so yeah, I think this is maybe them resetting themselves a bit. You know, and there's even a logic to that. When you find yourself maybe off the path, maybe it's good to just do an album where you reset back to what you know and then go from there. There's something to be said for that. And this album kind of feels like that. It's okay, in my opinion. We're not remotely near peak Collective Soul yet, but it's okay.
We're getting there though. We're making progress.
Yes. Well, we're to my number 8. So my number 8 is my number 8 is the new one. This is again. Oh, we're not quite there yet. There we go. So this is their double vinyl but single CD. It's their only album that's over an hour long, which is another thing that kind of bugs me. Like all their albums are like 35 minutes.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of them when I was looking and I was like, how long is this? And it was always like 40 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I noticed like Blender was 30 minutes long, which doesn't particularly bother me because I'm not a big fan of Blender.
Well, I think like Dosage was like 50 minutes, but then like, and I think Discipline Breakdown might have been like 45, but like a lot of the other ones are like 30 to 40. I think the first self-title might have been a little bit longer, but like so many of them are like the same time length. And it's like, experiment more, guys. But Here to Eternity, at least they're experimenting with the overall length, even though the songs are about the same length. Again, this is a lot like Vibrating, where I appreciate that they're going in a new direction. I don't feel like they're quite there yet as a band, but I want them like, guys, continue doing more shit like this. You know, expand, explore. Favorite band of all time, Genesis. Their last album was Calling All Stations. Their only album, one album post Phil Collins. I will say the biggest issue with that album is I think they didn't, well, not necessarily with that album, but like with that lineup, is that they didn't really explore it. So like essentially that album is done with it's Tony and Mike wrote most of the songs before they even had a lead singer picked out, and the lead singer came on and helped them write like 3 songs on it, but it's mostly Tony and Mike. My earbud just died, but I don't think I really need it. But yeah, this is them, like, this is the next step from vibe writing. It's like if Calling All Stations was Collector Soul's vibe writing, then they're experimenting a bit more of Here to Eternity. Experiment, guys, experiment more. Like the only thing I'd say my biggest complaint about this one and maybe even vibrating is like push it more, guys. Push it more. Because I like this track. Do something different. Yeah, that's kind of my thought on Here to Eternity. Oh yeah, that'd be my number 8. So I think because
So you,
our number
you
9s
did
merged
just do
together.
two. Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
because our 9s merged together because our 9s were the same.
No, they weren't. It was. Did you have Rabbit at 9?
Yeah.
I had Rabbit at 10. Oh wait.
Oh.
Give me a moment. I think I might have 2 of one because I've got 13 albums on here. Give me a second.
Oh.
No wonder I'm out here like, what's happening?
Mm.
Okay. Which one did I repeat?
So it sounds like Rabbit is actually your 9.
Rabbit is my 9.
Yeah.
Which one did I don't know which one I wrote twice. You know what? We'll get to the end of the list eventually. If I start repeating albums, we'll know which one I wrote twice.
Yeah, when you repeat an album, we'll know. It's like, oh, that's it. No. All right. So I guess we'd be at your number 8 or whatever you put above Rabbit.
Oh, I skipped a number.
Oh.
There was no 6.
Oh, okay. Well,
there
that'll
we
do
go.
it too.
We're good. We're good now. Rabbit
That makes
number
even
9.
better. Okay.
My 13 Collective Soul albums.
Yeah. And then
One of
Untitled.
which has no name.
Yeah. And it's just no ranking at all. Okay, so you're number 8.
Okay, my number 8 is See What You Started by Continuing.
There we go. By the way, I will say, like, that's kind of a fun album title. I kind of appreciate that.
So the thing about this album is, as I said, a lot of the albums and songs are the same thing, by the way. A lot of the albums I felt like I didn't really get a whole lot out of.
Mm-hmm.
See What You Started by Continuing is at number 8 because I didn't find it particularly memorable, to the extent that when I was putting it together, I was like, it's the one where they continue, you know?
Yeah.
And so I put it at number 8, and I feel like that's a level of criticism within itself that I didn't remember it when I was putting together the list. I do have a level of madness to understandable madness to the way I set this up in regards to it, because I've sprinkled in ones that I do remember with ones that I don't remember in a way that I think makes sense in some way, you know, which we'll get into that when I start, because we're in the battle zone right now with my list.
Yeah. Well, we're getting up to noteworthy ones.
Yes.
So wait. I guess we should go to your.
Yeah, I was about to say, stop.
You know what? We're going to go ahead and mix it up a little bit. I'm going to, hopefully it doesn't get too confusing though, but let me go ahead and go to my number 7, because my number 7 is See What You Started by Continuing.
Okay.
It's right there, so it seems like let's go ahead and just get it all out to
Are we
begin
just
with.
going to be doing this now, or we just like go from 1 to 1?
Well, let's try to reset back to 2 to 2, but this was like, okay, it's right there.
Are we going to go back to me then?
Yes.
Am I going to do 2?
Yeah, let's go 1,
Okay.
and then you go back to 1, and then we'll try to reset. But I just thought I'd jump in because like it's right there for me as well. It's my number 7. This was, again, I thought this was a slight step up from Rabbit. I feel like Rabbit was kind of like their reset, and then this is just kind of their next step. So I guess this would be the equivalent of them doing like a disciplined breakdown. But it's like, I don't think it's I think this is a decent album. Like this, Hurricane, Am I Getting Through, Without Me. There's some really solid songs on here. There's a couple where I'm kind of, but overall, I think it's a solid album. I think after Rabbit was kind of a reset, this was kind of a good next step. again, it suffers from them being kind of derivative, and we're about ready to get into the album that I think they're being too derivative of, which is also I think part of the problem because I don't think it's one of their better albums, but like I feel like they're trying to remake that album too much. But anyways, that's my number 7. See what you say. Start by continuing an okay album. And then we'll get back to you. Where are you at?
Okay, my number 7 is Here to Eternity. I put it higher than I did See What You Started by Continuing because I did find it memorable and I did feel
Yeah.
like they were trying to do more interesting
Yeah.
things. I just didn't really like it.
No, that's the
And I feel
interesting
like
thing
I'm
about
being fair.
no, that's the interesting about I bring in Here to Eternity because I put them lower than I actually wanted to because I felt like they were doing different things and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I just wish I enjoyed it more. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I want them to do different things. Like if it's between like listen, I was kind of a fan of Bruno. Well, I guess I still am kind of a fan of Bruno Mars when he did the Unorthodox Jukebox, and then he did 24 Karat Magic, and that one it was good, but it was like fucking the same fucking album again. And I was like, okay, do something different. And now he's actually doing something different, and I don't like it, but I appreciate that he's doing something different. So it's like even if I don't like it, I want the people to musically explore themselves. And I feel like Collector Soul is finally doing that with these last 2 albums, even though I don't like them as well as a lot of the other stuff.
I know, when I was listening to it,
Mhm.
which was, I guess, the most recently that I listened to
Mhm.
any of these because I listened to them in the order that they came out. I kind of got like jump scared by the Bob Dylan song. I was like, "Ooh, what's happening?"
Yeah.
You know, because you got like all of like those people going, and I was like, "Is this an extra song? What is this?"
Yeah.
Scared me.
Very scary.
I was like,
But yeah. So that brings us let's see. Oh yeah, so I interrupted yours. So
Okay.
we'll go ahead and get this caught up by I will go ahead and go to my number 6. And my number 6 is we're getting into the ones with lost singles now. My number 6 is Dosage. Dosage.
Massage.
So this is
Massage.
this is the one I brought up that when the one I brought up. Oh yeah. So like I listened to their first 3 albums. I like their first 3 albums a lot. And there's a lot really big singles off Dosage. This one has Heavy. This one has Run. This one has I'm brain farting, but like she said, the song from the first Scream is freaking a hidden track on this. Um it's a it's got some good songs on it, but I never picked it up for some reason. And then I picked up Blender when it came out for some reason. And then
R.I.P.
yeah, well then I went back and got this one and I was like, well, this is fine. But the problem with this is that so they do their first real album. The Ed Roland considers their self-titled one their first album, and an argument can be made since hence an allegation is just a lot of Ed Roland demos. So an argument can be made that their first self-titled is a real first album as a band. And then they followed up with Discipline Breakdown, and I think what I really like about Discipline Breakdown is it doesn't feel like a rehash of the first one. It feels like them exploring and doing different stuff and doing like similar stuff, but cool stuff still. Um, and then Dosage feels like a rehash of Discipline Breakdown. It really fucking does. Um, I can play in my head Heavy and Discipline Breakdown, those songs, and they just cross them over all the time because like they sound so goddamn similar in so many places. Um, and I don't want to be like, oh yeah, this album sucks. I think it's fine, but I feel like if I want to listen to Dosage, I think Discipline Breakdown's almost a better version of this album.
I have different opinions on Dosage, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we will get there. But
I have opinions.
but yeah, I feel like this is it's like and the instinct of always when you have a hit album is do the follow up and do the same thing over again, and lots of artists fall into this trap. And I felt like maybe they dodged it with Discipline Breakdown, but they just kind of did it with Dosage, unfortunately. Still, it's high up there. I'm just this is a notch over halfway in my list. This is my number 6, so it makes in the top half at least, and it's ahead of like a lot of stuff that came after it, with very few exceptions. So there's something to be said for that. Like I said, I like Heavy. I just preferred the song Discipline Breakdown. There's songs I like on here, but I don't think it's them at their best. Although it is noteworthy that this album tied with their first self-titled for tracks they played the most at the show, which is interesting. But yeah, that's Dosage for me. And I guess um, caught back up would be to my number 5 because you already did your number 6, right?
Um, no, no, I haven't. I I did Here to Eternity, and then you were like, "Allow me to do my thing."
That's right. Okay, so
So no.
what's your number 6?
My number 6 is Youth.
Okay, wow,
This
it's quite a
is
bit higher than for you than it was for
this
me.
is another one that I don't really remember,
Mm,
and I put it in front of Here to Eternity just because I didn't particularly like Here to Eternity. You know, it's a bit my list, as I said before, it's a bit of madness going
mhm,
on here, but I did think about it.
yeah,
I do have reasons for putting things where I put them, and Youth is sort of on here because, as I said before, I don't feel like we're gonna get to albums that I like more in a moment,
yeah.
and it
We're
doesn't
getting.
belong with those
I mean,
albums. As I
I
didn't
just got to
remember.
Dosage, so
I mean, I didn't even like I didn't even remember this album. It's mainly up on there because I didn't want to put Here to Eternity quite that far down low because I
yeah,
just don't like it that much.
yeah. It's weird.
And
It's like
it's
I don't like the newer stuff as much, but I appreciate it more. So I don't want to like completely dump on it because it's like, yeah, guys, go in this direction, explore. Go in the-
yeah. And that's basically my opinion on Youth. And
Mhm,
that's why it's where it is.
mhm.
I
All right.
don't find it memorable.
Well, I guess where do you want to go? Do you want me to go next, or do you want to go next?
I would like to go next.
Okay. What's your
Keep
number
on being
5?
like, allow me.
Mhm,
My number 5 is Blood.
okay. Oh wait. Oh wait. No wait. It's actually much later. There it is. Okay.
So I liked this one because I felt like I listened to it and I thought to myself, this is kind of interesting, you
Hmm.
know? It seems like they're trying to go in a different direction. And I respect that. And I enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't one of like my favorite albums of all time. None of these albums are my favorite album of all time.
Hmm.
Let's be honest. They don't really make that list for me.
Hmm.
I am not super big into this band, is what I discovered while I was listening to the albums. And I don't really feel like that's a fault onto them. They are good performers, but it's not really my thing, and it just didn't ever really go far enough to really be my thing. And yeah, I did think the Blood though. I liked it, and you know, I don't plan on like re-listening to it anytime soon, but I liked it.
Okay.
Although I don't really plan on re-listening to any of these albums anytime
Mhm.
soon. I enjoyed getting jump scared by the weed song.
Yeah.
I talked about this for multiple
Yeah.
days. I just
There's a
I'm-
weed song.
weed's illegal. We want to have weed, but weed's illegal. Let's get high. I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa.
Let's get high.
High.
Anything else you want to add? Blood, or are you good?
We're good.
Okay, so my number, I think we're at my number 5. Yeah, my number 5 is hints, allegations, and things left unsaid. So I rank this one high because like I almost feel like throughout most of their discography, you get a collective soul formula and you really feel it. And this is the one album where I feel like you're not really feeling it simply because and you can tell it's a collection of demos. So it's Ed like throwing stuff together, seeing what works, what he likes, and this is the end result. Is it their best stuff? No, no. I will say Shine's, Shine was their first big single, and you can tell why because it was pretty solid. I mean, there's a couple bangers on here. Scream is a solid one on here. Let me see. I have a couple songs highlighted that I enjoy quite a bit. Good Night, Good Guys, the second song, that's fun. And then Sister Don't Cry will get stuck in your head sometimes. It's a decent album. And Ed talking about how it's a collection of demos. It's like that kind of explains a lot. It definitely does feel like, here's just random songs thrown in here. But I like, at least for the rest of their discography, it's them just kind of, well, not really even them. It's mostly Ed just fucking playing around and coming up with sounds for them to do. I enjoy it. Not one of my favorites, but like I appreciate this. And then that would get me to my number 4. And my number 4 is one you just talked about. Blood. Okay, so this one, so I felt like they kind of rebooted a bit with Rabbit, and then See What You Started With Continuing was like a step up, and then I felt like this was a significant step up. This was like it's not quite as good as like peak Collective Soul, but it's good. It's solid. Like I feel like they're definitely having a lot more fun with this one than I possibly ever heard them have. There and like so many of these tracks are just really good. So like Now's the Time, Over Me, Crushed, Right as Rain, Them Blues, all of these like really good solid songs. And like especially when you're in that second half of listening through of Collective Soul, this one's like such a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh wow, this is actually really good. So yeah, would I have liked it as good if it was mixed with Vibrating? I don't know because I don't like Vibrating nearly as much. But as it is, as this album is right now, I enjoy it. I think it's one of their better albums. Um, it's the last of the newer ones where I'm completely into the classic era of them now. When we're in the top 3, so I guess it makes sense. But yeah, that's my number 4. What's your number 4, Ashley?
Okay, my number 4 is Vibrating. I felt like kind of wanted to put it somewhere nearby Blood because I had sort of similar reactions to them. And I could kind of, when I was looking at the Wikipedia page and I was like, it was meant initially to be a second part to Blood. And I felt like I could feel that while I was listening to it. And I liked Blood and I liked Vibrating. Not a super whole lot because, as said before, I'm not super big into this band, but you know, I felt like I can respect like the creative decisions that they're trying to make with these ones, and I would like them to continue. In fact, I'd like them to be sillier in the future. That's my opinion. Be silly, be sillier. Try to out silly yourself at every attempt.
Yes. True.
Great words of wisdom.
You know, you're saying that, and the next band we're going to be covering is Primus. I don't know if you're going to do the album ranking with us, but like, you want to talk about a band that goes silly. Here, I'm going to show you.
I assume I can't play the song.
No, I'm not going to be able to play the song, but I'll show you one of the. I'm sure I can bring up what song title on here for you, real quick. So Primus. I'm sure they have a YouTube page, right? Yeah, official Primus. Oh.
So don't.
Okay, so there's their most viewed song right there. You know, it's not silly at all, right?
At some point, we got to start disowning people.
Yeah. No, listen. It's about a woman named Nona, and she has a pet that's a beaver, and it's big and brown.
Sure.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, Primus is a silly band. I'm kind of excited to dive in because I haven't listened to a lot of their newer stuff. But yeah,
I actually did not know we were going to see Primus.
We got a couple months till this one. We got a break. It's not like in like 2 weeks. Like we just did Kraftwerk, and now we're doing now.
Like I got a speed run listening to Collective Soul.
No, we got some time to go over Primus, but I think they probably have less albums too. I'm not sure about that one, but yeah, that'll be fun. But yeah, if you want a silly band, here you go. This is very silly. Les Claypool's a silly person. But yes, you were talking about Vibrating. Anything you want to add?
Not particularly. I feel like I've made my point.
All right.
I think Vibrating and Blood belong with each other.
True. Well, I don't like Vibrating as much. But yeah, how dare we have different opinions? We're not allowed to disagree. And I'm your father. You agree with me.
It's also worth. You see, the thing is that the actual order of this is kind of iffy for me. So it's not really necessarily that I think that Vibrating is super awesome and Blood is like a step down. I was putting stuff on a list. It's all sort of in relative order. I put this together last night.
Yeah.
By the skin of my teeth.
So that
11
was
p.m. I'm sitting up and I'm like, ooh.
So Vibrating is your 4 or 3?
Vibrating is my 4.
Okay, so what's your 3?
My 3 is Disciplined Breakdown.
Ooh, we're getting into big ones here.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's a nice album.
Yes.
It's good. It's solid.
Yeah.
I believe that this album was good. I didn't feel like it was like a super big step up from like the past album Collective Soul, the real self-titled
Yeah.
Rabbit is fake to me. But you know, I enjoyed it. It was nice.
True.
That's
Well,
really all that I have to say about it.
mhm.
It was nice.
Well, fun fact about Discipline Breakdown, I believe it's their only album that's titled after one of the songs on the album. I can't think of any other one.
And the thing is that this is the album where I stopped paying attention to what the titles of the songs were.
Mhm.
It was I paid attention in Hints, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid, and like the first self-titled album. And then after that, I was like, I feel like I understood those two albums.
Yeah.
Let's just listen to the albums as a whole, you know, and that way I won't get bogged down by particular songs. And now I have an entirely different problem.
Yeah. It's
It's
what
all the
happens.
same album.
Mm. All right, so that was your number 3.
Yes.
Okay, so my number 3 is an album we haven't mentioned here for a little while, but let me dig it up. Oh wait,
Going the
wrong
wrong
way.
Ah.
Blender. So Blender, like, so they came out with Dosage, and Dosage felt like a rehash, and I feel like Blender, there is it's not completely different, but feels like a mild step in maybe the right direction, just doing something a little bit different. This album has a lot of stuff that you'd get used to from a Collective Soul albums. The first 2 tracks are like these really fast-paced songs, but then the third track is a slower song, which is standard for them. But then the third track was also the big single off this one, which is interesting. And I still want to know where Why Part 1 is, god damn it. Why Part 2? What is this
Yeah, I
crap?
was looking at the track list and I was like, why part 2, you said?
Yeah. What the heck? Why? Where's Why Part 1?
Why would you
Damn
just
it.
drop that on me?
Yeah.
Just call it why. Don't make me think about this.
Yeah. But yeah,
It's like Children of Light 2.
Yeah, it's like, where's Children of Light 1? What the fuck? You know, it's in Pink Floyd, yeah, the single is the Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, but there's parts 1 and 3 on the album.
It's crazy how
yeah.
they do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is, I felt like kind of a step in the right direction for them. Yes, a lot of the classic Collective Soul beats. I think Vent is a song that really gets stuck in my head and I really enjoy it. A bit more aggressive than their standard fare. Another track I really like on here, and I didn't realize it was a cover. It was You Speak My Language. I didn't recognize the original band that did it, but I think their version at least sounds really cool. Yeah, I just overall really enjoy this. And for some reason, Why Part 2 just brings back memories for me of being in the dorm. And I don't have happy memories of being in the dorm, but I remember enjoying this song in the dorm. It's like, okay, cool.
The song associated with sadness.
Yes.
I listened to Blender and I cried.
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess like I get the sense off Why, and especially from the music video, because it's them like just kind of performing and almost being outsiders during this big party.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe I associate with that a lot during college, especially my first time there, because it's like it just feels so awkward.
I think
Yeah,
something that's interesting about this is that do you know how they originally got popular?
No.
As I said, I was looking at the Wikipedia page while I was
Yeah.
doing this, and how the band originally got like popular is their first album, Hints, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid,
Yeah.
was played at like this local college radio, and they were so into it. So
Yeah.
what I'm telling you is that it has college kids appeal.
Okay.
Is what
Okay.
I'm discovering.
Well, I mean, that's the thing to keep in mind. That's when I was really into these guys, college age. So
yeah.
So
They're
I
getting
guess
the
that makes
college
sense.
people.
Makes sense. So yeah, that's Blender, and then you've already done your number 3, so we'll go ahead and do my number 2. Sound good?
Okay.
So my number 2 is, there's not that much left. Discipline Breakdown. One of the first CDs I ever got was Discipline Breakdown. Fantastic album. I wish they'd played more. They did Precious Declaration at the concert, and I wish they'd done more off this one, and less off Dosage, frankly. But I really I think there's just some really great songs on here. And what I appreciate about this is that it doesn't feel like a carbon copy of the first self-titled one. It feels like something, while it very much has their sound sonically, it feels like something a bit different, kind of progressing a bit. And I really appreciate that. Listen, I was actually hope like Listen was a fairly big single too, so I was hoping they'd play that at the concert as well, and they didn't. And then Blame was not one I expected, but it's definitely one that I really enjoy. Discipline Breakdown, I obviously wanted to, but I bring that up on the video. Link is a catchy song that I really enjoy. Frankly, like pretty much most of these songs are ones I really enjoy thoroughly. I feel like tonally it's a bit different. This might be one of the cooler looking album covers, honestly. The decapitated woman on the bed, it looks like. Um, Kind of creepy. I enjoy that. But
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what was going on with her on there. 'Cause
yeah,
I didn't have the album covers while I was listening to them.
True,
Most would be
true.
like I was like looking.
you have to look it up.
I
Yeah.
was looking at like the Wikipedia pages. And I would like glance at it for a moment, and I'd be like, "Huh, that's what that looks like."
Yeah. So this is talking into my mug.
The mug is the best microphone.
But by best you mean worse than yes.
We are all in your mug, waiting to hear what you have to say.
So yeah, I mean, I guess you can probably guess what my number one is, but we're not to my number one. But yeah, Discipline Breakdown I think is fantastic. This is probably my most listened to Collective Soul album. It's between this and my number one, but like it's up there. I really enjoy this one. This is a classic for me. What's your number two?
My number two is the real self-titled Collective Soul album.
Ooh,
The real one.
I'm curious what your number one
This
is.
one just had a lot of what I think it's very, like you listen to it and you'd be like, whoa, I know that song, and I know that song, and they're all bangers for some reason.
Yes.
Like when I heard this album, the second one I listened to, I was like, we are going to good places.
Yeah.
We are heading off.
Yeah.
We are getting on boats and we are heading out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we didn't head out that much longer.
Yeah. Well,
But
no.
it gave me hope.
No, you listen to Hint's Allegation. It's like, okay, I can see where they can go somewhere with this. There's a couple tracks on here I like, but it feels a little messy. Then you go to Collective Soul, and it's like, oh, I see where they're going. It feels much more unified. It feels much more thoughtful, and it's cool. And it's I'll get more into it, but yeah, their first self-titled is very good. I enjoy it.
It's very nice,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Yes. Favorite tracks?
I mean, I guess I still remember it was the name of the one song that I really liked, and then I like looked it up so that I knew what it was called, and then I forgot what it was called. But I do remember a couple of names of the songs that I liked. I enjoy Smashing Young Man and Gel. Those are fun. Are you looking through it for me?
Yeah. Well, which one?
Oh right, yeah, December.
Oh yeah,
I
December.
really enjoy September. September, December. It's the same month.
Yeah.
It's the same month. It's because I'm reading this
Well,
book that stars a girl named September.
Yes. Well, that was one of their biggest singles. So like, I want to say when like back when all these albums came out, the big singles were like obviously Shine, December, World I Know, and then we got Listen, not Discipline Breakdown, but Precious Declaration.
I also really liked She Gathers Rain.
Yeah, that's a cool
I like that one.
And then off the next album we got Heavy, we got Run, and then the album after that we got Y Part 2. Those are the big singles. I feel like now, like 30 years later, the ones that have stuck around out of all those are Shine, World I Know, and December. And so that's impressive. 30 years later, and 3 of your songs are still getting semi-regular play.
For a moment, I thought you were saying that like Shine was one of the songs on this album that was still getting played regularly, and I was like, no, it's not.
No, but like 2 songs. This album actually has 2 songs that still get played semi-regularly. So that's pretty good. That's pretty awesome. Not a young album. No.
Yes.
So yes. So I go ahead and go into my number one, and then you can go into your number one.
Sure. Yeah.
And we can discuss how you're wrong and I'm right. You're wrong.
I have I'm gonna explain my side of it to you.
Okay.
And I've already heard you talk about this album, as you might guess.
Yes.
So I know what your opinion is, and I'm gonna tell you my opinion.
Yeah, because I don't
We
dislike
will agree
this,
to
but I
disagree.
do think it's we'll get to it because I've already done process of elimination. Because I was like, wait, which one has? Oh, wait.
I was like, for a moment over there, you were like, I wonder which song she has, and now you know. You're looking at my list.
No, the process of elimination.
I keep on saying song when I mean album. This is so embarrassing.
You could probably do process of elimination and figure out this is my number one.
I mean, I actually already know, but it's not because of process of elimination. It's because earlier you took your phone out and I glanced at it for a moment and I saw which one it was.
No.
It was on accident. I didn't mean to do it.
But yeah, like it opens up, and honestly, this became the formula that the two opener songs would be like these bangers. That being said, yes, real segue. Happy Pride Month.
to you as well, Mr. Anti-Idiotic.
Yes, happy Pride Month. Absolutely. So Simple and Untitled are really good bangers, and I feel like that became the formula for Collective Soul after this. But like this is the formula setter, and they are really good bangers. And then we get the slower song, the single, World I Know, which is just a really kind of pretty song, kind of sad song.
Yeah, I like
It,
that
it,
one.
it sounds a lot like somebody contemplating suicide, which is really dark, but like it's really artfully done. And then December is the other big single, and yeah, that is just a cool sounding song. Just clever. I think he does lots of clever things with his voice in that song. It's cool. Like I'm trying to even think of how to even do it lyrically, but yeah, I thought like during the show, I thought it was cool that they did Gel and when what was it? Was it when Where the River Flows? Yeah, and those are really cool live versions that they did. Um, but yeah, this is just overall just a really, really solid album for me. This is Collective Soul finding themselves, and they've never outperformed this at all. It's awesome. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And
don't know why.
that brings us to your number one.
I don't know why I still have my list out. I know
Yeah.
what I'm doing now.
Mhm.
Okay.
Let me guess.
So,
Let me guess.
you got to hear me out on this one. So,
You can explain why you're wrong. It's fine.
so the thing about this album that I thought was interesting when I listened to it. So this album gave me hope.
Yeah.
I was listening to this album, and I know you thought it was very derivative, but there was something about this album that I noticed, and it gave me hope for the future of Collective Soul album.
Okay. What did you notice?
The synths.
Oh, yeah.
They put synths on this album, and it was so. And when it first started, I don't know what exactly it was at the beginning, but there was some sort of thing that they were doing with their guitar and like the synths and whatever that like reminded me for just a moment of psychedelic Beatles or something like that. I say for just a moment because it didn't linger for that long. Obviously, psychedelic Beatles is better than this. I'm sorry. But
I don't think it's an insult to say it's not as good as the Beatles. Come on, it's a high bar.
I'm not a big Collective Soul fan, as I've said many times throughout this. I'm trying to be very nice though while I'm doing this. And really, I feel like because a lot of their songs are very similar, I feel like I'd just be making the same statement over and over again. Which in a way we have, because we keep on turning towards the camera, and we're like, you should be silly. You know?
Yeah, they are very redundant, and that is part of the issue.
And the synths and the stuff like that, like just like the presence of the synths in there, I heard that and I was like, this is great. They are branching out.
Yeah.
And then I listened to Blender, and there's a reason why Blender's so far down on my list.
Yeah. Well, no, there's synths in Blender as well, but I do.
They weren't used in a way that I thought was particularly interesting. And I know the ones on this weren't used like in a terribly interesting way, but I heard the synths on here and I was like, we're doing it, you guys. And then we didn't do it.
Well, that's the thing. Like I wondered about that because like they like Ed has credit for synths in a lot of the albums, but you don't hear them that much.
Yeah.
And I would like more synths, definitely.
This was like the main one where I noticed there being synths on it, and you can tell it jumped out to me because I put it all the way at the top for it.
Well, I mean, did I tell you why what the idea behind Garbage was when they formed that band?
No, I know that they got like a Shirley Manson later.
Yeah, so the idea was originated by Butch Vig, and they like alternative rock was really taking off. He was like, "Oh, you know what? Like, I like this alternative rock stuff's kind of cool, but like a lot of the idea behind it is not using synths, and I like synths, so I want to do an alternative rock band with synths." And that was kind of the origin of Garbage.
Thank God. Sometimes you need a good synth in something.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because he's a drummer, but yeah, Garbage is much more welcoming to synths than a lot of the alternative bands and from this time period.
Really
honestly,
think of them as being like a synthy band.
No,
like,
but it's
kinda,
definitely
they
there.
kind of are.
Yeah, it's definitely compared to like even like Collective Soul. And I think synths would be an easy way to you don't even have
enrich your catalog.
you don't even have to be that tricky about it. Just like be like, you know what, we're just gonna hire a synth player.
Yes.
You don't have to do like Geddy Lee, like Rush, like Rush. You have lead guitars by Alex Lifeson. Neil Peart does the drums, and then Geddy Lee lead vocals, bass guitar, rhythm guitar, synth, and
I'm assuming they have to hire people to play with them on stage.
that's the thing. No, he does it all. On
So I'm
stage.
guessing they can't.
Yeah,
They can't have rhythm guitar
he
and
can-
bass guitar at once, or does he have like a thing where it's melded together?
he does meld it together, and then sometimes he will have the guitar and he'll have the synth in front of him, so he'll be like kind of playing, and
Oh my
he has to get
God.
creative. But it's like, oh my god, you're gonna go insane. But yeah,
What an
no,
overworked man.
it's literally a 3-piece when they do it live. So yeah, they have to figure out mixes where obviously they can layer it in the studio. But yeah, we're not even on Collective Soul anymore. But Collective Soul is a band I enjoy quite a bit. I like Rush quite a bit more, but I do like them, and they do take me back, and I do have lots of nostalgia for them. And I will still kind of stand for especially their first self-titled and Discipline Breakdown, because those are early albums for me that I loved. Yeah, Collective Soul is awesome. But we have a whole anything you want to add before we get to the video record of the concert?
I mean, I guess I'd like to say this beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really, by the time we had bought the tickets,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know a whole lot about the band. Like, I just I knew some songs that I enjoyed, and so I expected to enjoy it more. And it's not that the concert was bad, but it wasn't for me, because I was sitting there and I was like, like I was listening to the albums and I was like, I don't like this a whole lot, to be honest with you, but it's gonna get better eventually for me. And then, as we've stated before, it didn't expand a whole lot. And then I went to the concert and I was like, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna have fun no matter what. And then I didn't have fun because they were playing a bunch of songs that I didn't like a whole lot.
Well, I appreciate you came with me, and I
supported you.
I did have fun. I just wish you'd had more fun. But I thought it was a good, simple show.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
But it was not for me.
Yeah, I wish we could have shared it more. But you were there with me, and I got to torture you with it, so it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I mean, there's been other things where you were gonna go and do something, and I was like, no way. No way, Jose.
Yeah.
But I normally when you're about to go out and do something, I will normally accompany you.
Yes. But yes, here's our concert footage. Guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You know all the algorithm stuff. Hit up all the friends of the channel too. Actual Fandom, Turf Nation, Eric's Debunks, Eric's Reloaded, Pillar of Garbage. I know there's more. All you guys are great. I'm going to be back on the initiative next week. This week I'm still kind of off, but I'm going to do a Star Trek stream on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to tier rank the classic Borg episodes from before Picard, and then Saturday I'll return with a normal stream where I'll cover some comic books and cover some chuddery. I'm sure I'll probably look at an Acolyte video or two. That should be fun. But yes, more regular streaming is coming. Oh, and you know what else? My X-Men 97 essay, I'm going to release it tomorrow. I don't care how late I have to stay up tonight. I will get it done. I got like at least a third to halfway done right now. I'm just going to grind it out, and I'm going to get out to you guys tomorrow. So you have that to look forward to as well. But here's our concert footage, guys. Thank you for staying tuned with us. Here's Collective Soul. We are outside. We're on the way to Collective Soul. I forgot to record in the car, but we have a little walk ahead of us, little stroll, so we might as well talk a little bit about it. So you want to know an interesting fact about Collective Soul?
Yes.
So the best band ever in existence, Genesis. They did 15 albums. They released those albums over a period of 28 years, 1969 to 1997. Collective Soul just released their 12th album. 12 albums over a span of now exactly 30 years.
Okay.
It's weird to think, because these guys were pretty new when I started listening to them. and now they've been releasing studio albums longer than the best band ever, and I'm like, what? But yeah, so I remember when self-titled came out, I was a big fan of that one. The first self-titled, because now there's two. And the first one's solid too. So like, and I remember Discipline Breakdown, I think was the first album I got from them. And that was awesome. I like it quite a bit. But and Ashlene here is kind of new to the band. What are you thinking so far, honey?
I mean, it's nice.
Yes.
It's nice.
Yes. Well, I mean, if you're seeing this, it was after we already talked about our album ranking, but yeah, it's just the two of us on this one, so it's a smaller, well, not smaller, but apparently the venue is going to be a church, so maybe I'll get some cool photos of the church. We'll definitely get some shots of the band and stuff like that. But yes, on the way to Collective Soul, one of the first bands I was a fan of back when they were newer. And now I feel old.
You have become aged.
Yes, I have. I guess any songs you want to listen to that hope they play?
In particular?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, while I was doing the album ranking for this one, I feel like I mostly just, like, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to what the titles of the songs
Oh.
were. So, the ones that sound good.
Yes, I agree. I want to hear the ones that sound good. So obviously, I think we're going to get the classics. We're going to get December. We're going to get World I Know. And we're probably going to get Shine, too. The ones I'm less sure of, stuff off Discipline Breakdown, I kind of won't mind hearing. I actually wouldn't mind hearing the actual song Discipline Breakdown, but I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll probably do Heavy, which is a good song as well, but I kind of feel like it's Discipline Breakdown version 2. But I don't know. Well, I won't mind more tracks off Discipline Breakdown because you know, it's just, I think that was the first album of theirs I got, so kind of have a close feeling to that one. But yeah, I imagine we'll get some tracks off the new one too, which is all right. Okay, so I just thought I would add a little bit more. We're almost to the venue, but you know a song that gets stuck in my head that I'd like to hear? Vent. And I just thought I would add that. We'll see if they play it. You know, I could have recorded this later just to fake it, but I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to give myself more work. And then I'm just going to record it now. Because extra videos are always fun. So this is the venue. The First Baptist Church here is apparently the Bluestone, which I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of cool. I know Bobby was saying he saw Bad Religion here, which I love the irony of that. But yeah, cool.
into the car after Collective Soul and The Summit. I'm going to say that band name because I had no idea they were performing. They came on and I was like, it doesn't look like Collective Soul. I mean, it's not a jacket. I could see Ed wearing that jacket, but like he shaved his head and then wore a cowboy hat, and it sounded much more southern rock than I was expecting. I was like, yeah, this isn't them. So yeah, we had The Summit, which was not listed at all. I thought they were okay, very loud.
I think the keyboardist was trying to kill me personally.
Oh really?
Oh
Why you say
God,
that?
the keyboard was so loud and so high pitched. I swear.
Yeah.
Trying to kill me specifically, the keyboardist
Yep.
was.
He was targeting Ashlene. He knew what he was
Yes.
doing. Yeah.
I was in the back.
Like I got a couple of clips there. I don't know the name of any of the songs. Their single was Blue Sky. I remember because they announced it. The song before they played Blue Sky, I actually thought was pretty good. And then they did a solid cover of Heroes. I will say, like, when it comes to Southern rock, I am, it's like I'm half-hearted. Like, there's some of it where I'm like, I can totally get down with it. And then there's other stuff I can't. Like,
They sang a song about being 23 miles away from Tennessee.
yes, they
I
did.
remember that.
Yes, they did. And yeah, this one, I mean, they definitely lean more on the rock side than the country side, but you know, there's kind of there, and it's a tougher sell for me because I'm not a country fan, but it's not him. I don't know. Like, I like ZZ Top for the most part. Leonard Skinner have some bangers. There are some Leonard Skinner I'm not super thrilled with. That's my hot take. But yeah, then we got to Collective Soul, which I think they went on stage around 9:15, 9:20. And what I kind of liked about this show is just kind of how simple it was. Now, it was not a tiny venue, but a smallish venue. And it got packed when they showed up. I had a space in the back, but I had a good view, and then I lost it. So a lot of the footage is kind of spotty. I was able to get a bit better view as the show went on, but yeah. I was surprised how few new songs they did. I was expecting a lot more newer songs. I think they opened with 2 newer songs, and then the rest was off their first 5 albums. They hit the self-titled one quite a bit. We got December, we got World I Know, we got Gel, we got Where the River Flows. Those last 2 I wasn't expecting, but those are really cool live performances. We got a cover of some AC/DC. We got Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. And I am kind of shocked. I did not know Ed Roland could do a Bon Scott, but like, he copied the vocals surprisingly well. I was like, whoa, that sounds like Bon Scott. Ashlene, where are you at?
I didn't really have a good time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well,
I
it
was
was
not-
packed.
It was... Okay, so what you have to understand
Yeah.
is that, A, I spent like a good hour
Yeah.
listening to this band. I like spent the entire time that the band was up there trying to figure out who they were.
Yes.
And also they were so loud.
They were
that
very
I
loud.
felt like I was rapidly developing tinnitus.
They were
Oh.
louder than Collective Soul, and Collective Soul was fairly loud. And I didn't feel like they were mixed particularly well, probably because it was mixed for Collective Soul. But we're actually at the car.
And also, something that I realized is that I simply do not like Collective Soul enough to see them live.
Oh dear.
It wasn't that they were bad or anything. It just was not. It was not.
Yeah.
It was not.
Well, I
It's really
enjoyed
all
it.
I
It kind of
can
took
say.
me back to being a teenager, honestly.
You see, I don't have that nostalgia factor,
yeah.
so I think that might have been part of it.
Yeah, I do have the nostalgia factor.
They were good performers, though. It
Yes.
just it was not made for me.
Aw. Well, it's made for old fogies like your dad. It is.
I did notice a lot of old people there.
There was. I was actually kind of surprised.
I think I saw maybe like 2 people that seemed to be about my age, maybe a bit younger.
Yeah. The age seemed a bit higher than most concerts, and that includes like Genesis and stuff like that, which kind of surprised me. Pretty full house though. But yeah, I guess if you're younger, it's not a great show. I thought it was fine. Make sure to get good seats quickly because our view was garbage.
I mean, I think if you're younger and you go through like the albums and you really really like them, then like by all means go to the show.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
But like for me, it was like when to be honest, I had sort of. There are definitely Collective Soul songs that I like, but there are also a lot of things that I don't like about their songs. And so it just sort of piled together and like me not being like, it didn't work.
Yeah. Well, I definitely have criticisms too. Like if you're watching this, I've already gone over them when we record the album ranking. But yeah, I will say I appreciate it was a fairly simple live show, and that's something I kind of appreciated. It was just them performing live with some lights. Kind of nice and simple, but they were high energy, so they kind of sold it. But yeah, that was Collective Soul. That's like the only time in this tour where they're headlining, because it's Hootie and the Blowfish for all their other shows I've seen. So
R.I.P.
solid act.
We're listening to the Blowfish Man now.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it for Collective Soul. I guess this would be the end of the podcast. So anything you want to add?
Don't drink and drive.
Party on and be excellent to each other.